What's happening, everybody? Welcome into a brand new episode of Fighting Words. Anthony Sanfilippo's here. I'm Bob Wankel. Anthony, the Phillies played to a spirited 4-game split with the Washington Nationals over the weekend. Hard-fought victory yesterday, 11-9. You had to empty the tank to secure a split on the road with a dreadful Nationals team that they're 21 games better than.
Yeah, before we jump into that weekend, the weekend that was, you're in another new location today. Yeah, and you sound a little bit echoey. And this looks like Bob. This looks like a proof of life video. Like, yeah, Bob's with us. He's here.
Let's see what do we got. We're at a shore location, so very nice.
Very nice. Very nice. Down the shore.
A little echoey. We didn't bring the mic. I actually didn't know that I was going to be here, but leave it to the Wankel family to do a little three-day trip to Cape May while it's 75 degrees and raining out for 3 days. So
very nice. Very nice.
We're working though. It's a working Monday. So yeah, look, Anthony, since we last talked, things have changed. Things have obviously changed. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot to unpack. And, a lot of it is not good. The Phillies are in a situation here this morning where everything looks good in the NL East and everything looks good from a standing standpoint and where they're at in the National League and possibly being able to secure even a bye. But Zack Wheeler, the news behind Zack Wheeler coming out the other night, just it feels like it sort of changes everything. And I guess what I want to do before we talk about all the other things like the outfield and why this team can't hit, and then it scores 11 runs out of nowhere, and we're gonna parse through all that stuff. But I think we have to start with Zack Wheeler, and not that we necessarily have any new insights or updates about his status, and maybe we'll get those in the next day or two with the Phillies back at home, but. There is, it just came out of my mouth, this is a tough blow for this team. And I think it substantially alters this team's ability to compete and win a championship. But is it really quite that bleak? So I guess let's start here. What are your overall impressions of this news as it is still pretty fresh and details are scarce right now? What's your overall impression, and let's work through what it might actually mean for these guys?
Yeah, this is my first impression, obviously, is this is a scary thing, right? I mean, it's not something to be taken lightly. You hope for, first of all, from the human side of things, you hope for speedy recovery for Zack, that this is something that the doctors can knock out, and kudos to the Washington Nationals medical team for finding it, right? I mean, he had been dealing with a shoulder situation for a couple of weeks, and Phillies did not diagnose this. This wasn't diagnosed till it was, they were down in DC, and he was feeling heaviness in his shoulder. So first and foremost, that's the thing that comes front of mind. But Bob, why do we do this show? We do the show to talk about it from a baseball perspective, right? Sure. And so we have to put the human thing aside for a minute and look at it from how this impacts the Phillies. And in doing that, I mean, everybody recovers from these things at a different rate, right? So, and baseball's not a contact sport, so it's certainly going to be different in baseball than maybe it would be if this was a football player or a hockey player or even a basketball player. Victor Wembanyama, if you remember back in February, had a blood clot and missed the remainder of the season in the NBA. I don't know if that's, because I'm not a doctor, I don't know if that's the same time frame that you have to look at for Zack Wheeler. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. But regardless, and we won't until we get clarity from the Phillies, which we all hope is today when we go down to the ballpark later on, until we get that clarity, it would behoove us and the Phillies to start thinking about what it would look like going into October without Zack Wheeler. And I think that if he's able to recover and able to come back and pitch, that's fantastic news. That's great for everybody. It's great for Zack, great for the Phillies, great for the city of Philadelphia. But if he cannot, there has to be a thought of, well, how do you get through that? How do you get past that? And I think that's the thing that I've been thinking about and having a hard time with, because outside of Christopher Sanchez, I don't necessarily know who else I go to at this point in October, because right now the second most consistent starter, if you don't count Sanchez or Wheeler, is Taijuan Walker. And I don't know if I feel good about Taijuan Walker starting a playoff game. So, like, that's the thing. Like, for the Phillies, this is a horrible potential outcome if he can't pitch the rest of the year.
Yeah, look, and you said it. I think the first thing is obviously, given the situation, we're not talking about a hamstring here or elbow inflammation. We're talking about something that is very serious. And from a health standpoint and from a human standpoint, that stuff takes priority. I mean, that all being said, I think it's fair to, at this point, look at how it impacts the team. And I'm not a doctor. I've listened to what some of the medical analysts have said online, and some of the writers and podcasters have had guests on their shows to speculate about what this injury might be or what it might look like. And I think it's fair to say right now it feels more likely than not that Zack Wheeler doesn't pitch for this team again this season, even if he were sidelined at this point for 4 or 5 weeks, which I think would be very hopeful and very much leaning on the side of optimistic. What would a ramp up look like? Is he going to just come back and throw a bullpen and then take the ball in game 1 of a playoff series? I mean, it just doesn't feel like, maybe if they got deeper into the playoffs, he becomes available, but like in terms of like a NLDS, like that feels very unlikely to me.
Yeah. And Bob, if you recall back in 22, Wheeler went on the IL right around this time.
Yeah.
And he missed 3 weeks. I think it was 3 weeks. And then came back and threw a couple of starts at the very end of September and was game 1 starter in the playoffs.
Yeah.
This is a different scenario. Obviously.
Yeah, this is also a different thing too, where I imagine I am not a doctor. I've asked some people that I know with medical backgrounds about this, but everyone's in the dark on the details. I mean, location, severity of size of it. Like, there's so many different factors.
Correct.
So it's hard to speak about it with really a lot of, a lot of real knowledge here. But my guess is that he's going to have to shut things down physically to a degree, certainly more so than he would if he were dealing with an elbow problem or a shoulder problem. Like, you can still do things to keep yourself otherwise in shape. And in here, this could be a full shutdown for all I know, or for all we know.
Right.
So you're right. I mean, you look at the rotation and what's left, and this is why these conversations are silly. And I mean, I guess we probably have had them here. I don't know, maybe check the tape, but I look at it and go, hey, you talk about in the middle of May. Well, if they had to start a playoff series today, they have 7 guys that are awesome. How would you even figure out the rotation? Well, here we are on August 18th kind of going, well, I have Christopher Sanchez in game 1, and I'm not really sure what I have after that. So if the whole thing is going to be predicated upon they have great starting pitching and they've upgraded the bullpen enough to deal with the offensive inconsistencies and be good enough for 3 weeks to win a championship this fall, I really can't squint my eyes hard enough and make that work. Like, I just I didn't believe in it before. Now I really don't believe in it. And you said something interesting to me yesterday. You're like, that's right. And here come the Phillies, and they'll probably go on some crazy ride here and surprise everybody. And everyone counted us out, and underdogs, and the typical Philadelphia Sans 2024 Eagles crap.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you, because I don't see it either. I don't see how you get past this. I think this is a death knell blow.
It's devastating
in my mind.
It's a devastating blow.
Yeah. So I can't for the life of me understand how that how they would get through it. That said, crazier things have happened, and you never know. All of a sudden, the offense might figure it out, and then they're great. Or all of a sudden,
let's talk a little bit about what that rotation looks like in this moment. So yesterday morning, I did a radio hit with Mike Gill on 97.5, and he said to me, what would your starting rotation if they only need 3 men? What does it look like? I said, well, certainly it starts with Sanchez. And we're trending, I think, in a direction where if Luzardo can continue to be consistent, he I think right now probably gives you the most upside in that rotation. So I think that you give him the ball because I think he's the guy that can go out and potentially shut down a team for 6 innings. Now, he may blow up, but I think that he at least has the ability to go out and dominate an opponent. And so I think I would ride with that. That's my opinion. But then when it comes to that third starter, I'm curious to know what you think about that. But then when it comes to the third starter, I told Mike, I think it's going to be Aaron Nola because I don't think he's a bullpen option. I think that he still has the pedigree. He has the experience. And I expect after he comes back and gets the ball a couple times that he will pitch more like the Aaron Nola that we saw last season. Fast forward 24 hours, and we watch Aaron Nola unable to get through 3 innings yesterday against a dreadful Nationals team. And I know that they're young and chippy and have some interesting players, and that's fine. But, I mean, that's a AAA team. And he got pummeled in that 3rd inning. He had no answer, couldn't stop the bleeding. I'm willing to allow for 1 or 2 times back here before I start saying, like, all right, this is just what it is. Like, I understand, you have rehab appearances. I get that. But I'm not going to kill Aaron Nola today. But I cannot sit here and tell you, simply write that off. He looked good for 2 innings. This is Aaron Nola we're talking about. He deserves the benefit of the doubt. Like, I can't do it. He was so bad before he went on the injured list. And then he was so bad yesterday. I haven't seen Aaron Nola pitch in a year where I say, like, for a consistent stretch of time, I feel great about this. I trust this.
Yeah, no, and you're right. And it's funny because, you look at that start yesterday. He gives up a hit in the first batter of the game and then immediately steals second. And the first thought in your head is, here we go.
Yeah.
It's not going to be good. And then he pitches out of it. Does a nice job, gets out of that inning, right? Doesn't give up the run. Second inning, he's dominant. Strikes out the first batter of the 3rd inning. You're up 6-0. You're thinking to yourself, okay. Like, and I didn't think he was going to go long in the game anyway. I felt like the Phillies were only going to limit him to 5 1/3, 5 2/3, something like that. He wasn't going to go.
Fransky on the radio yesterday said that 85 was realistic coming in.
Yeah, right. And so like I thought somewhere between 5 and 6 innings was probably his max. So you're at 2 1/3 and he's looked good. And you're thinking, don't have much more to go. And this will be a successful start for him. And then it was just a matter. And it was weird too, Bob, because he was throwing first pitch strikes. He was getting ahead of the hitters. And then he would just miss.
Yeah.
And the pitch was a cutter that wouldn't cut. It was center cut in the middle of the zone. Just like too much, just not hitting his spots. And the thing with Aaron Nola when he pitches is he has to hit spots because he's not blowing pitches by anybody, right? So for him, it's all about command and location. And in a matter of a handful of pitches, he lost complete command and location of what he was doing. Now, of course, you could say, hey, first start back, this does happen. If you go back to May 4th, I think it was, Ranger Suarez's first start this year. He had missed the first month of the season, missed some time in spring training. Like, he didn't look good. It was against the Diamondbacks. He got torched. He got hit hard, gave up 7 runs, and then he went out in his next 12 starts, and they were all quality starts.
Yeah.
Right? So you could argue that, hey, first start back. But the difference, as you've pointed out with Aaron Nola, is this is how he looked beforehand when he went on the injured list. And when he came off, it's the same thing. So I don't think there's as much of a runway this time as there would have been had this been, say, his first start of the year and this happened. And, he had missed the whole year up to this point. I think that he gets he would have gotten more leeway in that regard. The fact that he looks the same as he did just before he went on the injured list gives him a little less room for get back to where you need to be or else.
Yeah, his season ERA sits at 6.92 right now. It's almost impossible to believe it's that bad. And I sent you a text message yesterday. I said, you know what? The way that Nick Castellanos is going, it's time for me to intervene. I have to do something about this. I need to put my reverse hex hat on and get to work. And what did I text you? I said, Castellanos, I think, goes over his first 2 yesterday. I said, do you know that right now, Nick Castellanos with a 691 OPS actually has a lower OPS than Aaron Nola's 6.92 ERA? And I actually was going to tweet it out because it was just it's so bad. And it's also $44 million worth of salary between these two guys, no less. But I was like, I'm not going to tweet this out because he's going to end up hitting a home run. He's going to end up hitting a double. And it's not going to, people are going to be like, oh, yeah, good stat. How long did that last?
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just going to wait till the end of the game. If he gets it back up, then I'm not going to tweet it. And he did. To the Castellanos' credit, he collected his second and third base hits of the month of August yesterday. So here comes the Nick Castellanos heater. I just don't know. I mean, it's funny, though. The only other thing I'll say about the starting rotation in this moment, it's like, okay, Sanchez, do you agree with me? Luzardo would probably be one of your three right now?
Right now, it has to be because his last four starts have been better.
Yeah.
It looks like he's gotten past some of the stuff that was bothering him for 2 months. But I don't say that with supreme confidence because he has been inconsistent. He is an emotional pitcher. Sometimes he lets the game get to him and things snowball on him, right? So, yeah, right now he is. Right now Taijuan Walker is.
Well,
right
so
now,
that's what's kind of funny about this whole thing. If I said to you, hey, you have a veteran guy who's paid handsomely, and all he has done is everything that you've asked of him this year. Guy has a 3.3 ERA, almost 100 innings pitched at this point. You've given him no stability, no consistency in his role all season long, and he's out here throwing gem after gem for you right now, giving your team a chance to win. Most people would look at those statistics and say, well, how does he not start? Of course he's the guy.
Yeah.
I'm not there. I'm not there. I'm
just
definitely not there.
You can't be there. You just can't be.
He's done a great job, and I felt sorry for him on Saturday. I mean, he showed up. Nobody else did. He showed up. He did his job, and he's done his job.
He had one bad pitch
year.
The entire game. One bad pitch, really, and that it was a 2-run double or whatever it was, right? So that's it. The rotation. It's so funny, Bob, because even a month ago, we would have sat here and said, Phillies have the best rotation in baseball still. And that's what's going to carry them. And that's how Dombrowski went into the deadline. Like, we're going to double down on our rotation and this is how we're going to support it at the deadline. And that now all of a sudden it's less than a month.
What has essentially happened here is that Ranger Suarez's ability to regain some semblance of velocity and look more like the guy that he did back in June, that was a luxury. If that happened, it would be considered a luxury development. If Aaron Nola came back and pitched like Aaron Nola has pitched previously, that would have been a luxury for this team. And again, now it's more of a necessity that he performs. It's not just, well, this is a lost year, but maybe if he comes back and throws the ball well, like, we'll deal with that. Now you're like, man, we really need you to deliver for us. The other part of it is, do you think that this team wanted to go to a 6-man rotation? They showed you that when they had everybody healthy, they wanted to go to a 6-man rotation. Part of that, I'm sure, was helping Zack Wheeler navigate this dead arm period. Part of that was probably looking at Ranger Suarez's diminished velocity and saying, if we can buy him some extra rest, let's do it. I think that they're cognizant of the innings totals that Christopher Sanchez is racking up ahead of October. Same thing with Jesus Luzardo. Like, they wanted to go 6-man. Zack Wheeler's not a part of it anymore. Do you think that this team has any thought? Like, you know what? Let's bring up Andrew Painter. Let's go to a 6-man, and we'll roll that way.
I don't think so. I don't think they want to call up Painter unless they absolutely 100% had to. I think they want him to earn his call-up, and he has not done that at AAA.
He did, for what it's worth, throw the ball. I mean, I don't think it's enough to say, okay, you're ready, you deserve it. But, I mean, he threw the ball fairly well the other night. He ran into some first-inning trouble. He was not helped by his defense in that inning. He settled down, only allowed 2 earned runs over 5. And the final 4 were scoreless. A couple walks, though, again. Like, that's what I'm like, come on, man, you got to limit that stuff. If you're looking at it, you say, all right, situationally, he gives up a couple of runs, no big deal. But just I feel like that command has just not been there for the last 6-7 weeks now with him.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't necessarily know if they bring him. I would think you would need another guy to go down before you think about bringing up Painter.
Yeah.
I think that's where they're at. By the way, I shared a tweet with you yesterday just because I thought it was funny, not because I'm using it as a defend Aaron Nola.
Yeah.
But yesterday's game, his ERA from the game yesterday, just the game itself, was 23.14. His fielding independent pitching was 0.97. How does that happen? How do you get torched in an inning the way he did and have a FIP that low? Like,
yeah, I mean, like a lot of those balls were hit hard. He was not helped on the one, as you had pointed out in that conversation to me over at third base. But I mean, just truly, the thing that got me yesterday, because you notice I'm like talking a little bit more slowly today. I'm trying to be fair, trying not to do the like all amped up thing.
Yeah.
It just, that third inning, I made the mistake of it after the second inning going, you know what? Zack Wheeler went down. Aaron Nola's had a horrible year. He's been a total afterthought. We know how much of like a pro's pro Aaron Nola is, how good of a guy he is, all those things. He deserves this. He deserves to have the story be, I sat on the sidelines. I did my work. I stayed quiet. I just kept my head down. I'm working. I'm going to come back and really help this team. And it was all going to start yesterday, like 5 shutout innings. Wheeler goes down, Nola steps in. Look at that. I, for like a moment, really thought that was sort of like maybe the story we're going to start writing here and the thing that we started talking about. And then it was just like, boom.
Right. It still could be.
Very well met, because yesterday does not matter. You pointed out Suarez went through the same thing when he came back. What matters is that he catches some momentum at the end of September and is able to carry that to the playoffs. That's what he did a couple of years ago, even when he was struggling. He found it very late in September, put it together, and then helped that team make a run. And that's what he's going to have to do here again. But I will say, like, we had him on the show. I like Aaron Nola. I felt bad for him yesterday. I know you're not supposed to feel bad for a guy. It's his job. He didn't perform. Like, on a human level, I'm like, dude, this guy has been through it this year.
Yeah.
You know, and but he stunk. I mean, he stunk yesterday.
Yeah. I want to pull, before we move on to the offense, I want to pull up a few quick comments from our people that are out there. First, our video guy, Amadeo, says Wheeler should not pitch the rest of the season, focus on getting healthy. It's very possible, and that's very possible it might be that way. This is what I wanted to address. Sean Kleckner says, is this now not 3 misdiagnosed injuries by the Phillies medical staff, Nola, Bohm, and Wheeler? And I want to disagree with that. So Nola's situation, as we talked to him, as you go back and watch the interview that Bob and I did with him back when he was hurt, it wasn't a misdiagnosed thing. He was feeling a pain in his rib that they felt was related to him being sick, because he had just had the flu and he was coughing really bad and everything. And so they thought that's what it was. And if they did some imaging at first and it was not there. They thought it could have been a stress reaction. Then when they went back a second time and looked at it, they found a stress fracture, which is something that could have come as he continued to throw after getting the initial stress reaction, which is slightly different, right? So there's that. Someone called it a misdiagnosis. Same thing with Bohm, right? Like the first time that they looked at it, there was nothing there. And then he was jumping off of boats during with his girlfriend during the All-Star break, right? Like he was doing all kinds of flips off the back of boats. Like if a guy's got a rib fracture, they're not usually doing that, right? So like, who knows how that got exacerbated? And he came back and played a game after the fact, right? Yeah. So I wouldn't call those misdiagnoses, nor would I call this a misdiagnosis either. Just because you don't see a blood clot, like.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. The Phillies. Did I misread this? I think the Phillies basically said, like, we don't know, or we don't think that the shoulder issues that he was having a couple of weeks ago were tied into this. Didn't they sort of separate these issues? Like, I think even now, I mean, I think they're saying, like, yeah, look, we think it was something different. And then this happened. He had new symptoms. It presented in a totally different manner. Then it was called.
Right. And that was the thing. And that's what I'm saying. Like, so Wheeler actually said after he pitched the game Friday night that he felt normal. It was the first time that he felt normal. And then later Friday night, back when they were in the hotel, I guess is where they were, felt heaviness in his shoulder that he had not felt before. And that's when he called the trainer and Paul Buchheit, the head trainer, and it was like, hey, this is different. Like, this doesn't feel the same. And they immediately called the Nationals doctors and got him looked at. Mm-hmm. And they were the ones who said, oh, yeah, there's a blood clot there. So, like, this is different. Like, is it possible that it was there before? Yeah. It's possible, but it certainly it was something that felt different than what Wheeler felt before. So that's why I don't want to call them misdiagnoses. I know everyone wants to blame. Everybody's always looking for blame, right? I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far to do that. And the last comment, which I think is a funny one, I just want to pull it up, is Chris Fried saying, with Wheeler cooked and Nola still in 2025 form, when's the 2026 schedule come out? The funny thing is the schedule's usually out by now for next year, and it's not out yet. I actually asked some people at the Phillies about this a week and a half ago, and they said, we know it's late because it usually comes out the end of July.
Is this a 250th birthday of America thing?
It might be, and he said, I was told the league told the Phillies mid-August. So we're at the 18th. We're in mid-August. It's still not out yet. So it's weird that schedule's not out yet.
So it's interesting. Like that last comment, I don't believe in this team. I was very annoyed on Saturday. Come on, guys. Like, what are we doing here? You're talking about a guy that had a 5+ ERA in AAA this year, and he gets shut out, like dominated quietly, especially after the 4th inning. They played 10 consecutive days in 3 different cities, had a little travel blip mixed in. They went 6-4 on the trip. I said to you at the beginning of that 10 games that the Phillies were going to go 6-4 in Texas, Cincinnati, and Washington. You probably would have predicted 6-4, and you certainly would have accepted it. You probably would have said they lose 2 out of 3 to the Rangers, they win 2 out of 3 to the Reds, or switch them up, and then they go take 3 out of 4 against the Nationals, and that's how you get to your 6.
Yeah.
It's a decent trip. They have a 5-game lead. It's miserable to watch, though. Like, I'm watching it. I get it. Like, if you're like, this team sucks, I hate this. Like, and I'm like, yeah, but like if you just step back and look at what happened over the last 10 games, the Wheeler injury is a whole different ballgame, right? It's also out of their control. They did a fine job. Like, they did their jobs. It's just that when their trip starts the way it does, obviously, 4-0, and you're thinking, wow, this could be a 7-3 or 8-2 trip if they just do what they're supposed to do. 6-4 leaves a little bit of a bitter taste in your mouth. But that's been like the whole thing with this team. This last 10 days is much like this season. Like, they're 18 games over 500. They're tracking 90, 92, 93 wins. This is what I thought they were going to be all along, and I'm still disappointed / underwhelmed / very annoyed at times watching this.
It's strange, Bob, because yes, they're still successful. They're still doing what they need to do. Here we are, despite all of this, and they're still the number 2 seed or tied for the number 2 seed with the Dodgers in the National League. They're probably going to win the National League East. They still may get a bye. Like, they might not have to be in that wild card round. Like, all these things could still happen very realistically, right? And yet there's a lot of hate watching going on. And it's I don't know. I don't understand why, other than the whole familiarity breeds contempt.
I think it's the smartest thing I've said all year on this show. I mean, I just think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, they've been largely a 500 team for multiple months now. They heated up. They extended beyond 500. They really gained some ground. And, 18 is better than the 14 they were sitting at a couple weeks ago. But you want to see, like, you look at what Milwaukee's doing right now. And 2 things about that. One, the Brewers could be peaking too early. I might actually subscribe to that theory. I just don't know if the Brewers can stay this hot and then or cool down and then heat back up to this degree again in October. I think that they're playing a little bit above their heads. But I think people that watch the Phillies would feel a lot better if the Phillies could play 10 straight days of consistently good baseball. And that's the one thing that they haven't really done. Like, even if you go back to those Texas games, like you can't start picking apart wins here, but like the top of the order did not hit at all. And you like go, okay, well, it's the bottom of the order that's driving the train here. That's great. That buoys them. That's going to give the top of this lineup an opportunity to get rolling and really get this offense rolling. And maybe they win 8 out of 9, 11 out of 14. And like that is what is escaping them right now. Like they did put together a little run there prior to the let up in Cincinnati, but I think people want to see good offense. Guys get hot together for 14 days. And that's one thing that this team just cannot seem to do.
Yeah. And so, you think about it, and you think about it when, you look ahead to October, and for all the reasons that you said, also no Zack Wheeler possibility, it's hard to see this team going on a long run. But the one thing that you can sit there and say is, maybe the fact that they are grinding games out this year, and all their wins seem to be grind them out wins. They don't have a lot of comfortable victories, right? Like everything seems to be hard. Like every victory.
Did you know? I don't know if this is something that the Phillies media team is putting out there in the pregame notes, but Fransky mentioned this on the radio broadcast yesterday that the Phillies are 41 and 43 this season when Kyle Schwarber does not homer. Yeah. And I think that is framed in a way that shows Kyle Schwarber's importance to the Phillies. But it speaks to what you're talking about. Like everything is a grind with this team. And if Kyle Schwarber isn't Superman, this team is not very good.
Yeah, mediocre, right? But the one thing you could say about that is maybe they're one of those teams that finds a way to do the survive and advance kind of philosophy, where every round is going to go the distance. Every round is going to be, hanging by the edge of your seat. Everything's close. No easy wins in the playoffs. You might even have a couple of real frustrating losses, but that they have that mentality to somehow find a way. It could just as easily kill them. It could just as easily knock them out because they rely on that.
The previous playoff failures and the fact that they probably know they're not that good. You could say in 23, they got overconfident. They got too comfortable against the Diamondbacks. You could say even last year, knowing how poorly how mediocre they were in the second half of the season, there still had to be some degree of, we dominated the division. We are the team. We're better than we've ever been. You're the Mets. Like, even if the Mets playing the Phillies as tough as they typically do, you could talk yourself into being like, we're the Phillies, you're the Mets. We're going to show up and just win these games because we're entitled to do so. This team, I don't think, could possibly feel that way coming into the playoffs this year if they get there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that they have to have a different approach, a different mentality going into October than maybe they have in the previous few years. It's a different feeling this year. I think 22 came out, surprised everybody. 23 was overconfidence. 24 was still kind of like, hey, we know we struggle, but we are the best team and we're going to figure it out. And then they never did. I think this year they got to go into it like, okay, we're good, but not that good.
Yeah.
And we need to show that we're better than, we need to compete harder. We need to do things a little bit differently. We need to create offense in different ways. We need to be smarter in how we match up our bullpen. Like things like that. Like they have to go in with that kind of mentality. Otherwise, they're going to lose again.
It's funny talking about this year-to-year progression that they've gone through. It's funny you mentioned that Wheeler, the news comes out about him over the weekend. And the first thought I had is, I didn't know. I mean, I knew it at the time. We said, man, this team missed an opportunity in 23 when they lost Game 7 to Arizona. And you and I, we've said it on the show numerous times. We were sitting there next to each other. We covered that game. We were in the locker room post-game. Those guys looked like they saw ghosts after the game. I think they were stunned. With that Wheeler news coming out the way it has here, and we'll see what happens. We'll see how the season plays out. But that loss is getting worse by the day. I mean, it was a horrible loss at the time, and it just feels like as more and more time goes on, that loss is getting propped up. It's now for me starting to enter one of the worst losses in the city's sports history. I think it's that bad because I think it was right there on a silver platter for them. And there's just this assumption, oh, you're going to get one more crack. We're running it back in 24. We're running it back in 25. And like it's not guaranteed. You know, I think we even took for granted, oh, well, we got 2 more years of Zack Wheeler beyond this one. Like you don't know that. You know, we didn't see this coming. I don't know what Zack Wheeler is going to look like next year. I don't know what he's going to look like in 2027. I think he's going to be pretty good. I think he'll be in the Cy Young conversation. But, you know, Tim Kelly pointed it out. He's a mid-30s power pitcher that could go at any time on you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it just feels like, man, like that is, as more and more time goes on, that loss will not, it's like not time heals all wounds. Yeah. We're just going to keep looking at it and going, holy.
No, the only way time heals that wound is if they win. That's the only way that goes away. Like, you know, it'll always be on there, but it would shift from being one of the worst losses ever to being the catalyst for getting that championship. That's how it would switch. The narrative would change on it. But if this team, if they don't ever win with Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber and JT and Wheeler and Nola, this group, that will be the worst loss. You're right, in franchise history for sure, and maybe in Philadelphia sports. There's no question about it. One last thing before we get to the offense. I wanted to kind of just really quickly get you on the record because we didn't really talk about it at all, but I got into some great debates on social media about it over the weekend, and
I know what this is.
And even wrote a story about it too. Joan Duran comes in to pitch in a 4-run lead and gets hit in the foot. Everybody was panicked. They thought, oh no, broken foot, he's going to be done. Obviously, it was just kind of like a hit a nerve, and it, like, bothered him for that night, but he came back the next day. He was totally fine walking around the clubhouse, was available to pitch the next day. So it all turned out to be okay. But there was a real sentiment out there that the Phillies shouldn't be bringing in a closer in a 4-run game. What's Bob Wankel think about that?
Oh, you know what I think about that. I sent you a text message on Friday night and said, I think Phillies fans might be getting dumber than Eagles fans. I love you guys, all of you, even the ones that wouldn't have used them on Friday night. I do. I love you. For the life of me, what are we talking about, Anthony?
Yeah.
He had not pitched since Monday. You had to win the game.
Sunday.
It's a must-win game. So you're talking about a guy hasn't pitched in, 5 days? It's a must-win game. It's a 4-run lead. It's not a 10-run lead. It is totally commonplace and often done that a closer will enter a game in that situation. And, oh, by the way, you don't think that they confer and that they collaborate with the guy and say, what do you need to be sharp the next time we go to you? And he says, well, I can't sit for 5 days and then you expect me to be sharp the next time that you go to me. What happens if you don't use them on Friday night, right? Forget, just actually time out. I'll come back to that in a second. But let's just say you come in and you go to him in a 1-run situation. He hasn't thrown the ball in a week now. He has no command, he has no feel, and he blows the game. Those same people that were bitching on Friday night would have said, see, they should have gotten him in a game so he could have gotten some work so this wouldn't have happened when he did come in. It's not that – that's what kills me. It's not that people truly feel like that. It's that they will do anything they can to blame the manager every time that it's something that you can do. It's like low-hanging fruit. Blame the manager. You spill hot coffee on yourself, blame Dunkin' Donuts. Like it's not the manager's fault. God. By the way, then we see it playing out yesterday.
Yeah,
we see it. They're up 5 runs going in. Max Lazar. Let's see if we can get Max Lazar through the 9th, which I have no problem with. That's okay. But he almost blew that game. They almost lost that game because they didn't go to their closer with a huge lead in the 9th inning. So you see 2 days later the exact reason that you don't screw around and you go to the closer that you just traded for to extinguish those situations. Win the game and move on. It's insane, dude.
Preach, Bob.
Preach, Bob. True story. I coached at the high school level. And I have really good players for the most part. I love my players. They were all super accountable dudes. Obviously, certain guys didn't play. some of them probably felt like they should have played or didn't agree with some of the things that I was doing, or I didn't see their ability. Like, that's just part of the nature of coaching, right? Like, everyone wants to play. Some guys aren't going to. And for that reason, there could be a little tension between the player and the coach. I feel like with baseball, because when you watch the Eagles, most people don't know what the hell they're looking at when they're watching the Eagles, right? We have no clue. Like, I don't know how it's supposed to work. Oh, I'm like, hey, green team, go down the field and score. And when you don't, I don't like it. Baseball, like, we all kind of have an idea of what we're looking at here. Most of us played it. I don't know if it's like some like little league residual thing where like we all grew up and we didn't feel like the coaches gave us a fair shake, so we've got something to get against coaches for all of eternity. But I almost feel like that's what like fans do. Like, it's just like, blame the coach. Not my fault. Not the player's fault. It's always the coach's fault. I think that there's like some like little league like carryover to how we consume professional baseball and always want to blame the manager for everything. And by the way, Rob Thompson deserves plenty of blame for things this year. I don't even think Rob's really done that good of a job this year. I don't think he should be fired. I think he's still one of the best Phillies managers in the team's history. But I'm not in love with the job that Rob Thompson's really done since last year. I think, if anything, this team has been overly complacent, and it's kind of like a little bit of a, country club feel to it. So I like the fact that they went for it the other night. You can be critical of Rob Thompson, but you don't have to be critical of him every friggin' time something goes wrong.
Do you know how many times Johan Duran has come into a game this year with a up 4 runs or more, or down 4 runs or more?
How many?
That was the 16th time this year. 15 with the Twins, 1 with the Phillies.
Yeah.
It's very commonplace. It's very common. And the primary reason that it's become commonplace in the last 5 years is the 3-batter rule for relievers. Yeah. So maybe back in the day when you say it's a 4-run lead and you go with we'll try somebody else. If he lets a guy on base, you can yank him right out and go to the next reliever. You can't do that now. So why risk having your Max Lazars of the world, or Jordan Romano, who was warming up at the same time Friday night? Why risk having one of those guys come in and have to face 3 batters? What if they let all 3 guys get on base? Now all of a sudden you're in a closing situation. The closer has to warm up anyway. Warming up is just like putting the guy in the game because they're getting hot. So why not just put the closer in? That's why guys do it. That's why managers do it. It's why it's become commonplace in the last 5 years. It's the norm.
I mean, how many times have we sat here, or I've sat here, and people online say the same thing? Like, well, why didn't they go to X reliever in that situation? Why did they let him go so long? Why wasn't he ready? Just go to it. Get it done. Yeah. You need to win these games, by the way. Like, it's not June anymore. It's August. Yeah. You're talking about trying to play for a bye, protect the division lead. It's a 4-run game.
Yeah.
That was insane to me the other night. I get it. Like, he appears hurt. People are worried that he's gone for a month or 2. Maybe he doesn't pitch again this year. Everyone's upset. Like, I get it, but it doesn't mean that there's got to be fault assigned.
Yeah. And by the way, it wasn't just fans. There were members of the media.
I saw it.
Who were putting stuff out too. I'm just saying
that I respect and all.
Yes.
But I'm like, what are we doing?
Agree. All right. Offense. You mentioned there just how bad they were on the set earlier. You were talking about, the second part of the road trip. They almost got shut out 3 times this week, Bob. They were shut out twice. The third one was Bryce Harper hits a home run with 2 outs in the 9th inning to prevent a shutout against the Reds. You can't be that inept as this offense. It cannot be that bad. And then, of course, like you said, they go out and they score 11 runs yesterday, smack the ball over the yard. The one thing I think was different between Saturday and Sunday, on Saturday, they got shut out in 9 innings by Cade Cavalli and a couple other relievers in 114 pitches.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all it took for a 9-inning game. That's not a lot. But then they went out yesterday and just, forced the Nationals to throw a ton.
Mitchell Parker might be the worst starting pitcher that team faces for the remainder of the year.
Yeah.
He stinks. And, that's what they should have done. And that's part of the frustration of the Phillies. So then when you look at the numbers, and I know that's the sport, every team has big games, and that's part of what goes into your production. But you can kind of like look at it and say, oh, it wasn't that bad. It was actually a decent stretch because they scored 11 runs yesterday. The 8 games prior to yesterday, before yesterday's game, the Phillies were last in walk rate over an 8-game stretch. They were hitting 209 as a team, which was 26th in baseball. They had a 257 on base percentage in those 8 games, 28th in baseball. They slugged 326, which was 26th. And they had hit 5 home runs as a team. Harper and Schwarber had accounted for 4 of them. So they had 1 home run in an 8-game stretch from anybody that was not Kyle Schwarber or Bryce Harper. It was Amuno Sosa in the Sunday game against the Rangers. That's what it is. They just don't have enough power. And now they're not walking as much as a team. And so that on base that was really good at the beginning of the year, that has kind of come and gone on them a little bit here now lately too. Like you talk about them not scoring runs in numerous games on this trip. It wasn't like they were 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position in these games. Like they didn't have that many chances.
Yeah, no, it was not good. And that's the thing. Like, you know, I look at Friday night's game. They put 37 pitches on Mackenzie Gore in the first inning. And you're thinking, great, they're going to get into that bullpen early. And then Mackenzie Gore ends up pitching what? 6 innings?
Yeah. Not the first time we've seen something like that with them this year.
Like it was unbelievable to me that he was still in the game. I was like, how? How do you put 37 pitches on a guy in the first inning and then he's still pitching 5 innings later?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? And
did they get 1 in that first inning or 2?
I think they got one, right? Just the one.
Yeah, I think they were set up to score multiple runs and didn't.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, I will just make this point prior to yesterday's game, and I guess it got a little bit better with Castellanos Day. But Phillies are 24th. Their outfielders are 24th in OPS this season and 28th in wins above replacement. I know every time I see it on your timeline a lot, people asking you. I know what your response has been. I know it's come up on the radio when you and I have done hits and things. Everyone asks about Crawford. And he had a big weekend. And he was hitting yesterday. I think he was coming off a 3-hit night Saturday. He's hitting 332. OPS is over 850. So on base percentage is well over 400. What are we doing? I just feel like we have to do the Crawford check-in here and be like, has anything changed for you? I know what the official, can he really help? We're not totally sure. My only thing in this is like, it's so bad out there that why not? You know, that's kind of how I feel. But
well, so I think that the and just kind of like looking at it, right? Okay, now you've done the situation where Bohm is back. You sent Otto Kemp back. Okay, fine. So if you're to call up Crawford, who are you sending out? Because it can't be Weston Wilson at this point, because Weston Wilson can play the infield as well. His versatility is what's keeping him on the roster.
Big hit yesterday.
Yeah, and he does.
He hit against the Rangers last weekend.
He's hitting lefties again. Like he struggled earlier this year, but now he's got it back. He actually surpassed Kemp and stayed on the roster as Kemp got sent down. It was the right move by the Phillies. So if you're doing that, who goes out? It has to be one of the veteran guys. It's got to be Kepler. I mean, you're not waiving Nick Castellanos. You just traded for Bader. Marsh is hitting. Who's going out? Yeah. You would have to waive Max Kepler. It's basically what you would have to do. And I think that they're going to sit there and say that's a $10 million contract. And although he hasn't been good this year, maybe they could have DFA'd him sooner. They gave him a little bit of extra rope. He's done a little bit better of late and been a little bit more productive. And they feel like if that's what they're doing, if that's what they're paying $10 million for, it's better to have that and have him. And he's a decent defensive outfielder. Better to have him than it is to have Justin Crawford up here right now.
Yeah, he was Kepler was 1 for 3 on Tuesday night. He was 2 for 4 on Thursday night. And then he was 0 for 3 on Saturday. And like, this is where things are so bad for the Phillies that you kind of have to, you really do have to look at this stuff. One of those outs was 103 miles per hour off the bat. He drove it out to left center, hit the ball very well. It was just a deep part of the park, didn't carry out. And I think his other out was like 97 exit velocity. Like, he has hit the ball harder. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you, like, you got to keep Max Kepler on the team because over the last 30 days, his exit velo has popped. But, like, when you're trying to figure out what you have for the remainder of the year and what it looks like from a roster construction standpoint in October, if you tell me the guy's actually giving you some competitive at-bats and making quality contact, and this is the offense that you have, and this is the outfield alignment that you have, like you have to consider these things.
Well, and not only that, when you look at where you're going to be in October, and you sit there and say to yourself, in a close game, late in a game, if you could put an outfield out there of Marsh, Bader, and Kepler defensively, with the way Stott plays second and Turner's had a really improved year at short, you can, and let's say you throw Edmundo at third as a defensive replacement for Bohm, and Harper's a solid first base. Now all of a sudden, a bad defensive team, which the Phillies have been, is suddenly looking okay, defensively, right? And so I think that that is another reason why they're hanging on to him. Dombrowski said Crawford is ready for the majors, but the Phillies aren't ready to call him up.
Yeah.
And I think I think this has to be the only reason why.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
but I mean, look, you said if you're just to finish the thought, I mean, I think what you said is right on. But if you have an outfield that's this dreadful, and you have this prospect that is ready in theory, and he's not up here, tells you what you need to know. They don't think that he's going to make them better. That's
right. That's the thing. Like, I mean, if they really thought that he can make the team better, he would be here right now. And the fact that he's not tells you what you need to know. Look, Bob, they got a tough series coming up here with the Mariners. Mariners have really good pitching. The offense is going to need to figure it out this week, because this is it's a tricky week. I mean, yes, the Nationals are next weekend, but you just saw that they played you tough for 4 games. And you have the this setting leads into the Mets series a week from now, right? So you really want to maintain this 5-game lead. You don't want to go into New York with that lead being trimmed to like 3. And all of a sudden it becomes a little bit more pressure, right? Against the Mets. If you could keep it at 5, you feel a little bit better going into that series against New York. That way, even if you lose that series, you're probably you're still in the lead. You're still in good shape. Not a problem. But if you give up ground this week, and then all of a sudden it's a 3-game lead going into that series, everything changes. And so this is an important week for them.
And it's a tough one tonight, especially. I mean, you get Ranger Suarez out there, and you really don't know what you're going to get from him at this point. Any outcome would not be a surprise, in my opinion. And then he's up against, I believe it's Logan Gilbert, if I'm not mistaken, and he's been very good. And I think he's like around 3 ERA for the season, 3 ERA this month. He typically is a 5, 5+. He's usually 6 plus, and he's K per 9 better, or K. I'm sorry, 9 Ks per 9 innings pitched. I mean, he's a tough guy. He's a tough out. His last 3 starts have all been very good. They're going to need Suarez to be good tonight. I mean, Phillies are favored. They actually this morning were not favored, for what it's worth. The Mariners were minus 115 on the money line. The Phillies were minus 105 earlier this morning, and the Phillies are actually now minus 119 as a favorite. So I don't know if some sharp money's coming in on the Phillies there and flipping that or what, but
yeah.
I don't know. Mariners kind of got beat up the last couple of days too, so we'll see what they come here with.
Yeah, they haven't announced a starter for tomorrow's game against Sanchez, but on Wednesday you're getting Luis Castillo, who's always good. He's been a good pitcher for a long time now. That's Castillo against Luzardo. So like this isn't an easy series for them offensively. They're going to be challenged by the Mariners pitching staff. Mariners have good pitching, and of course they're in the thick of the race in the American League. So. I don't know how to feel about this one. I usually feel pretty confident in making my series pick. I don't feel confident in this one. I'm going to say the Mariners take 2 of 3 from the Phillies.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So really interesting. We'll see. When we reconvene at the end of the week where things are. The Mets are playing the Nationals. It's an opportunity for the Mets to pick up some ground this next few days against the Phillies. That's why I'm a little bit. They're
starting to swing a little bit too. And, talking about how good the Mariners pitching is, like, the Mets hit the ball this weekend. And even against Atlanta, they had some nights where they were swinging, but it's been the bullpen, it's been the pitching that's been the problem for them up until these last 2 days.
Yeah, for sure. All right, one last thing. before I actually have two things I wanted to ask you about, but one I just wanted to ask you quickly to touch on it, just because I know you watched all 3 games. But boy, the Padres shit the bed this weekend, didn't they?
Yeah, we're talking about them the other day and how they need to make a statement, and it's kind of like same as it ever was. If you're the Dodgers, you go, yeah, we have all these issues, but you're our competition and we just dusted you,
Yeah.
We beat you up, and then we played a couple close games and we came out on top, and that's why we're the Dodgers and you're the Padres, your little brother. And it's just the way it's always going to be. So if I'm a Dodgers fan this morning, I look at my team and I have all these concerns about what it is and how it's constructed, but I go, we're going to find a way. We're certainly going to find a way over that team. It's weird with the Padres, man. Like I think they're really good. I said the other day, I kind of think they might win the division. I think they're going to be a tough out in the playoffs. And they played a respectable series against the Dodgers last year and came up just short. So it's not like they totally rolled over and died. But hey, at some point, you are what you are. Like the Padres have to show that it's different. Like they have all the pieces, but you got to like stack up and win a baseball game there.
Yeah. I mean, you can't get swept. Now they're going to play again next weekend, right, in San Diego. So maybe things change, but certainly was not good. But here's the real one last thing I want to talk about. Did you see what Victor Robles did?
Yes,
in his minor league rehab when he threw the bat at Joey Estes pitching on the mound. I could not believe now. The little bit of a backstory is he's been on a rehab assignment and he'd been hit 3 times on this rehab assignment. So, you're coming back from injury. You've been beamed 3 times. Like you can understand why a guy would be a little bit emotional, but to take a bat and throw it at the pitcher is absolutely, I don't know if I've seen anything like this, Bob, in years. We're talking about a major league player here. This is not some just random minor leaguer who did this. This is a major league player who did this in a minor league rehab assignment. I'm floored that was the extent that he went to.
Yeah, he launched a water cooler too, I think, by the time he went back down into the clubhouse and everything. He didn't talk after the game, did he?
Not after.
I guess if he's on a rehab assignment, they probably aren't required to speak, but
yeah, he actually he put something. This is what he wrote on his Instagram today. Coming off a long rehab and being away from the game for most of the season has been physically and mentally challenging. Adding to that, the recent passing of my mother has been incredibly hard, and I've been doing my best to hold it together. That's not an excuse, but some context I feel you deserve to understand where I'm coming from.
I feel for him. That sounds like it's been a horrible summer for him. You can't do that.
You can't throw it back.
You can't do that.
Holy!
I mean, I'm sincere when I say I feel horrible for him, but you just can't.
Yes.
So he's going to have to pay a price for that.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be. I mean, he's a pro.
What does that look like? Is that a 15-game suspension? Like what does that look like?
It's got to be something. It's got to be something. I don't know how. I don't know how major leagues handle that because it didn't happen in a major league game. Yeah. Like I don't know. I really don't know. It's so unique. It's so different. I'm not sure what they're going to do. But yeah, you got to think somewhere along the way that he's going to miss more time because of it.
I would think so.
Just you never know. It's always something new in this sport. Right? Baseball always provides you with something new and something interesting, and it's always something for us to talk about at the end of an episode. But thanks for everyone for tuning in for this week's episode, or the beginning of the week's episode of Phightin Words. As you know, you can find Phightin Words anywhere you get your podcast, whether that's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Pandora. We're on all those spots, but the best place to watch us and find us is right here on YouTube. You can click the thumbs up, ring the bell, make sure you never miss a show. And for those of you listening in the podcast feed and say, oh, I'd like to check these guys out on YouTube. I'd like to actually watch them. I'd like to see Bob down in his Cape May vacation spot, last minute Cape May vacation spot. You can find us at youtube.com/@PhightinWords. So for Bob Wankel, I'm Anthony Sanfilippo saying thanks for tuning in. We will talk to you again on Friday.